Glad you've joined us. I'm Dale Rivera. Welcome to Connections, where you'll find out everything you need to know about using the CTA. First, we're riding the Blue Line, stopping at two historic Chicago neighborhoods. Our destination? Wicker Park and Bucktown. It's back on the Blue Line to the Loop and the State Street Subway for an anniversary celebration underground. Then it's on board the Haunted L for an annual thrill ride. Along the way, we'll stop at Chicago's downtown library for a literary celebration. Then we're on the move on the Orange Line with the CTA's top train operator on our way to our last stop, Midway Airport. It all starts here at OHare Airport. Come along for the ride. We begin making our connections at one of the CTA's most modern and cutting-edge rail stations. Just look at this place. It tells you immediately you're somewhere special. And you are when you consider that the station is located in one of the world's finest airports, Chicago's OHare. It's our first stop. Every 30 seconds, a plane takes off or lands at Chicago's OHare International Airport. And on your average weekday, more than 182,000 outbound, inbound, or transferring passengers walk through OHare's terminals. So it's no wonder that this airport is the busiest in North America.
OHare, just based upon its geographic location, really is a gateway to the world. So that's one of the things that's advantageous to our airlines who operate out of OHare, particularly the two major carriers who hub out of OHare.
But OHare wasn't always this hub of activity. In fact, when the airport opened in 1945, it was called Orchard Field, which is why the airport's code letters are ORD. The name OHare comes from World War II fighter pilot Butch O'Hare. A replica of his F-4, F-3 Wildcat is on display in Terminal 2. OHare has grown to more than 70 airlines with more than 175 gates.
With over 7,000 acres on the airfield, when you total up the 8 runways that we have at OHare, you end up getting 2 lanes of highway from here all the way to Indiana.
Between the airport, the concessions, and the airlines, there are more than 50,000 employees that work at OHare, making it a city within a city, with its own post office and medical center.
Although a traveler may not be able to leave the airport, when they come through the airport, they're going to experience many things similar to what they would experience downtown Chicago if they were visiting the city.
The airport definitely has Chicago flavor. There's a Bronchosaurus exhibit from the Field Museum, a children's museum called Kids on the Fly, and how about a hot dog?
Many of Chicago's restaurants actually operate their franchises out of OHare, so you can pretty much get a feel of downtown Chicago, or a taste of Chicago, so to speak, when you come through the terminals of OHare.
Of course, for arriving air travelers, there's an easy way to get to where you need to go in Chicago on the CTA.
Probably unlike any other airport in the country, we do have public transportation that serves right into the airport proper. So it is convenient for travelers to be able to get off of a plane, walk very closely to public transportation, and be able to access the downtown area or other areas that they're trying to get to quickly.
The CTA's OHare station is positioned right between Terminals 1, 2, and 3, giving customers easy access to the entire airport. And it's exciting to look at. The Art Deco station was designed by famed Chicago architect Helmut Jahn, with its high ceiling and colorful backlit curved glass wall. The Blue Line goes straight from downtown to OHare and back, and stops at 15 neighborhood stations along the way.
You bypass the traffic on the Kennedy Expressway because that's a gridlock coming up here. It takes about 45 minutes from the loop, so convenience, economical, it's the best thing going.
customers can take luggage right onto the train. The only thing to remember is when to get off, and that's pretty easy.
Stay on the train, headed north until you get there. Don't get off until it's at the end of the line, because that is OHare Airport.
Blue Line trains to and from O'Hare are about 7 minutes apart during the busiest travel times.
For tourists, in between flights, they can jump on the train, 45 minutes, they're in the loop, go sightseeing, and come right back.
With the Chicago Department of Transportation, the CTA is now working on a proposal to provide express service to both O'Hare and Midway, which would make travel for customers of the Blue and Orange lines even faster and more convenient.
Just 2 stops from O'Hare on the Blue Line is Cumberland. Here you'll find one of the CTA's park and ride facilities. It's just another way that the CTA is giving customers more transit options.
Riding the CTA is affordable and convenient, even if you live on the outskirts of Chicago. Thanks to park and ride facilities that allow you to do just that. Park your car and then hop on board the CTA. CTA customer Mary Claire Paytek commutes to work every day from the northwest suburbs. She travels with ease by parking her car at Cumberland Station and taking the Blue Line downtown.
It's really nice because it's about $1.75 for 12 hours, so you have the full day, to go to work and come back, and even if you stay at downtown for a little bit.
The first CTA park and ride facility opened in 1952. Today, there are 14 surface lots and 1 garage located at CTA stations throughout the Chicago area. These facilities provide more than 5,500 parking spaces for commuters, which eases up the traffic congestion downtown.
They're helping to improve the environment. I mean, every car that's not making that 7-mile or 4-mile or whatever run into the city is reducing congestion and reducing air pollution.
CTA customers are also saving money. The daily parking rates at park and ride facilities range from $1.50 to $1.75 for 12 hours, which is a bargain compared to parking downtown.
So if you want to get out of your car and get downtown quickly and not pay a ton for parking.
It's safe, it's affordable, it's dependable. It's just, it's a smart thing to do.
Now, if you're tired of the daily commute and you want to know if there's a park and ride facility near you, check out these locations. Soon you can add one more park and ride facility to the list. The CTA is building a new one on the south side, next door to Garfield Station on the Green Line. So rather than drive your car to work, why not park it instead and take the CTA?
The Blue Line from O'Hare will take us downtown, but along the way there are stops that provide an entree into several unique Chicago neighborhoods. 2 of them are so eclectic that when you visit, you'll feel like you're living in both the past and the future. Our destination, Wicker Park and Bucktown.
It's mod mixed with nostalgic, it's hip mixed with history. That's the feeling you get when you visit these 2 neighboring communities on Chicago's near northwest side, Bucktown and Wicker Park.
Lots of bookstores, music stores. It's a great place to hang out, and the Blue Line comes straight here, which is nice too.
That's where we met up with our Chicago greeter, Jennifer Gordon.
Ready to show me around?
Absolutely.
Let's go. So Jennifer, what makes Wicker Park and Bucktown such great destinations?
It's a great destination. Like a lot of neighborhoods in Chicago, it's really rich in history. It really has a diverse history. Back in the 1830s, it was a big destination for Polish immigrants, which even at the time, you had Fort Dearborn, which was pretty much the only other settlement in Chicago.
For decades, Chicago was, in fact, home to more Poles than any other city in the world outside of Warsaw. Their contributions to Chicago's culture and history have certainly been felt. And celebrated here at the Polish Museum of America.
The museum is probably the oldest and largest ethnic museum in the United States. It was established in 1935, opened up in 1937, as a repository of the Polish and Polish-American experience here in the United States.
Here you'll find a tribute to Polish life reflected in its collection of native dress, ceramics, historical artifacts, and art. Perhaps the most famous Pole in Chicago history, Kazimierz Pulaski, honored in this historic painting.
The painting depicts the moment when Pulaski was wounded at the Battle of Savannah. When the American Revolution broke out, Pulaski came over to instruct the Americans in the use of cavalry.
The museum also celebrates the lives of other famous Poles, like Pope John Paul II and one-time Polish President Lech Walesa. Stop in and take a look around. And talk about history. This is where you'll find the oldest Catholic parish in the city of Chicago, St. Stanislaus Kostka Church. The parish opened in 1867, and its current structure, the second one built, was modeled after a church in Krakow, Poland. By 1897, St. Stanislaus Kostka was the largest parish in the country, if not the world. Today, it remains a sight to behold. The history of Wicker Park in Bucktown doesn't end there. Like so many Chicago neighborhoods, they've gone through many transformations.
Throughout the early 1900s, you had a lot of Poles and Germans and Scandinavians. After that, you had a lot of Puerto Ricans, other Hispanic communities as well, and now you have a very hip, happening neighborhood.
Very hip, very happening, and very popular. There's countless bars and live music venues. In fact, one famous band, the Smashing Pumpkins, got its start right here at the Double Door. If you're an artist, this community is your canvas. Artists have lived and worked in Wicker Park in Bucktown for decades. The famous Flatiron Building at the corner of Milwaukee, North Avenue, and Damon is home to many of them.
The funny thing about Wicker Park and Bucktown is that being an artist really doesn't mean much in Wicker Park and Bucktown because it seems like everyone is an artist.
Don Lambert was the artist in residence for this year's Around the Coyote Arts Festival, which takes place each year in September. For him, there's no better place for an artist to be.
You need to have a place for dialogue. So if you don't have like a community that's specifically full of artists or full of musicians, it's very difficult for the individuals to thrive. That's one of the things I really appreciate about this neighborhood as opposed to other places I have lived.
Chances are you'll also appreciate the greenery here with its handful of parks, including Wicker Park.
So a lot of people don't know that in the community of Wicker Park is a park called Wicker Park.
It's absolutely right. In the early 1870s, a man by the name of Charles Wicker, who was a developer and local politician, donated this land to the city to use as a park.
And the centerpiece of it is?
The crowning glory of this park is this replicated fountain. The original fountain was put in 1870s. This fountain was actually just put in last year. The original casings and moldings for the fountain were found recently in Alabama, so the city was able to reconstruct the fountain into its original state.
So whether you want to enjoy the park, eat great food, listen to live music, or learn more about our city's history, Wicker Park and Bucktown make great destinations. And you can get here on the CTA. Here's how. Remember, you can explore Chicagoland on the CTA. Here's an update on a story we told you about earlier this summer. The latest additions to the CTA bus fleet can now be seen on Chicago's streets. The first of the new articulated or accordion-style buses have arrived, and they can be seen serving customers along North and South Lakeshore Drive routes. The new buses have modern amenities like security cameras, bike racks, and heat and air conditioning, making for a more comfortable ride. The buses also have low floors, so they're easier to board, and hydraulic ramps that extend to the sidewalk provide accessibility for customers with disabilities. Keep your eyes open for more new articulated buses, 226 in all. They'll arrive over the next year and continue to replace older buses that are being retired. It's just one more way the CTA is improving service for customers.
The blue line takes us right downtown, and at the other end of this walkway is the red line at State Street. Today, Chicago's subway system is simply a part of our everyday lives. Not so 6 decades ago when the State Street subway officially opened. Ever since, it's been an important part of the CTA's goal to help keep your travel plans on track.
Walking down into and out of the CTA State Street subway is something most of us take for granted. The Red Line subway runs north and south from Division down to Roosevelt, and each day more than 80,000 customers enter stations underneath the traffic and congestion of downtown. But did you know that subway trains have been running on this line for 60 years? In October of 1943, the State Street subway opened for business. This was Chicago's first subway, and the opening day was a big event in Chicago's transit history.
There was actually a large parade held on State Street where various streetcars and other artifacts of Chicago's transportation past were exhibited for the public, and tens of thousands of people showed up for that, and then immediately adjourned downstairs to check out the new facilities.
60 years ago, the city's new subway facilities were considered state-of-the-art with fluorescent lighting, and for the first time, the stations had reversible escalators. Chicagoans were also fascinated by the 3,500-foot platform, which at the time was one of the longest in the world. Decades before the opening of the State Street subway, the city was trying to solve problems with train congestion around the downtown loop. Underground train tracks were the answer, but there was never enough money to take up the costly project of building a subway. Finally, with funding from the federal government, the project got underway.
The time it took to construct the subway was actually about 5 years, including the initial work of relocating the streetcar tracks are in the way, utilities had to be moved, a lot of digging, and then of course the most difficult aspect was actually crossing under the Chicago River.
Building the subway was quite a feat for the city, and it brought long-term benefits to Chicago's downtown.
By providing easy access in a day when there were no parking facilities and there were no expressways, and the suburban shopping mall was only a faint gleam in some developer's eye.
Today, we not only enjoy quick rides through the State Street subway, we also use the underground tunnels built along the line that give us easy access to downtown.
The subway is an evolving piece of our infrastructure as the needs of our public change. The subway has proved itself to be fairly resilient in being able to accommodate those changes.
The CTA is celebrating the 60th anniversary of the State Street subway with a special fare card. It's just a little reminder of how we can all be proud of the subway we ride today.
If you're riding the rails in the loop this month, be sure to jump aboard one train that has become an annual tradition, the CTA's Haunted L train. From the moment you step on board, you're in for a thrill ride.
Hello, and welcome to the official City of Chicago sanctioned train of horror and fright!
Chicagoans will once again be entertained by ghosts and goblins as the CTA's Haunted L train travels the loop.
We are the spirits of Chicago. We're everywhere you want to be.
Each October, a cast of characters ride the Haunted L, delighting adults and children alike.
I don't know about you, but I'm getting the heck out of here. Come on, me and you, man.
This year's Haunted L rides in with a new twist. The ghoulish tales that will entertain customers have been created by children in Chicago.
These stories include Chicago landmarks, so it makes it a little more personal for the people on the train.
The Haunted L starts circling the loop on October 9th. The train runs Thursday nights, Saturdays, and Sundays throughout the month. Tickets for the Haunted L are free, and they can be picked up on the day of the train ride at the Visitor Information Center at the Chicago Cultural Center.
So people can come here. There's a maximum of 4 tickets per group. We actually sell most of the train rides, so we suggest people get here early to get their tickets.
Of course, it isn't just on the Haunted L where you can find Halloween fun. The city of Chicago celebrates Halloween in style.
Mayor Daley loves Halloween. It's one of his favorite holidays. So we do the Haunted L as well as the Haunted Village at Daley Plaza, and we also do the Halloween Parade down State Street on October 18th.
If you want to make this Halloween the most fun ever, be sure to ride the Haunted L. You'll be in for a Chicago-style trick-or-treat.
It's a good thing for families to do, get out with their kids, and it's a safe Halloween alternative.
Chicago's ghosts are everywhere, so come on, get in the spirit.
October is a big month in Chicago, not just because of Halloween, but because of the growing popularity of reading. This month, the Chicago Public Library celebrates its annual Chicago Book Festival. To be a part of it, head to your nearest library, or here to Chicago's main library in the South Loop, on the CTA, of course.
A new chapter in Chicago history was written with the opening of the Harold Washington Library Center in 1991. Its commanding presence in the South Loop is hard to deny. In fact, it's the largest public library building in the world, with over 6,000 patrons passing through each day. The CTA made the trip to the library a more attractive one with the opening of Library Station in 1997. Here, red and green tones were used, so the station would blend in with the grand exterior of the library, as well as neighboring South Loop buildings.
They're all historic buildings right alongside of us, and so we wanted to have a station with the character of a historic station to tie in with the neighborhood down here.
In October, there's even more reason to visit the Harold Washington Library. The Chicago Book Festival is on throughout the month, and events are planned for young and old alike.
I think that's really the wonderful thing about Chicago Book Festival, is that our real goal is to surround the city with books, to bring books and reading into every neighborhood in Chicago through many, many events.
The Chicago Book Festival will feature some popular authors who will be reading and signing their books at libraries, bookstores, and other locations throughout the city.
This year we're featuring Al Franken, Sandra Cisneros, Scott Turow, and Sarah Paretsky are some of the many authors who are coming to Chicago.
One book you're going to be hearing a lot about is The Things They Carried by Tim O'Brien. It's the selection for One Book, One Chicago, the citywide book club.
So you're reading the same book as your fellow Chicagoan, whether on the L train or talking with friends, and then come together in book discussions, talk about issues raised within the book, and then attend special events that we plan throughout the month of October.
The City of Chicago, the Chicago Public Library, and Marshall Fields coordinate the Chicago Book Festival. The overall goal is for reading to catch on.
Mayor Daley really has a focus on getting adults reading so that children will follow their parents. And reading is just a wonderful thing, not only for entertainment, but for expanding your mind and your horizons.
Check your local library for more information on book festival events. Of course, many events will be happening at the main library, the Harold Washington Library in Chicago's Loop. An easy way to get to the Harold Washington Library is on the CTA. You can take the orange, brown, or purple line directly to the Library State Van Buren Station, step off the train, and you're right here. And there are a number of buses that will get you there as well. Here's a look.
We're getting on the Orange Line on our way to our last stop, Midway Airport. If you use the CTA, you should know you're in good hands. CTA bus and rail operators have extensive experience and training to ensure your trip is safe and on time. And if you ride the Orange Line, you might be riding on a train driven by the best rail operator in the city. With Michael Sheehan, you're on the move.
Riding the rails with Michael Sheehan, you know you have an expert operator on the track. He just won the title of Best Rail Operator in the CTA's 2003 Rail Rodeo. Michael is a second-time winner, but he has been a holdout for a second shot at the title. For the past 3 years, he came in second place.
I was just happy, relieved that I finally won. I'm tired of being in second place, and doing little things that cost me over the years. I finally got them all right this time.
Michael has been operating CTA trains for 24 years. He's currently on the Orange Line route, and his coworkers are proud of him in his big win.
He loves people, and you have to love people to work for CTA. He's a very dedicated worker, and he really applies himself as far as the CTA rules are concerned.
The competition is open to all CTA train operators each year. First, operators have to qualify to take part in the competition. They are only eligible if they have a near-perfect work record. During the competition, operators are judged by their ability to drive a train smoothly, their ability to troubleshoot mechanical problems, their awareness of safety measures, as well as their customer relations skills and professionalism. The competition highlights the skills that make the best train operators.
You have to love doing a good job, because when you come out here, passengers are going to work. They expect to be on time. They expect the trains to be on time. We expect our operators to get them there on time.
CTA rail operators go through extensive training.
Once you leave the terminal as an operator, that is your train. All those passengers on there are your passengers. You are expected to get them downtown or to get them to their destination safely. Safety is our most important thing here at the CTA.
For Michael, the competition isn't quite over. As winner of the CTA's Rail Rodeo, Michael is off to the international competition. So if you see Michael out on the rails, be sure to wish him luck. And remember that the best in the business may be driving your train.
The CTA is the only transit agency in the country that offers rapid transit service to 2 major airports. That's something to keep in mind as you begin to think about making your holiday travel plans.
The holiday season is fast approaching, and with it comes the year's heaviest air travel season. If your holiday travel plans include Midway International Airport, you're not alone. In 2002, Midway served a record-breaking 16.9 million passengers. In fact, Airlines International magazine has named Midway one of the fastest-growing airports. If you haven't been to Midway for a while, you're in for a treat. Its 900,000 square foot terminal opened in 2001, and getting here is easier than ever if you use the CTA. The Orange Line, now celebrating 10 years of service, offers a quick, inexpensive alternative to driving, and it connects to bus routes for ease of travel. Remember, when making your holiday getaway plans, use the CTA.
We'll tell you about those routes in November. So join us then for another adventure around Chicagoland on the CTA. I'm Dale Rivera. Thanks for watching Connections.
For more information about the CTA or to use the RTA's trip planner, visit our website at www.transitchicago.com. Or for customer service matters, call 1-888-YOUR-CTA. For travel information, call the RTA at 836-7000 from anywhere in the Chicago area. And to find out more about the Chicago Office of Tourism's Chicago Greeter program, call 312-744-8000 or visit chicagogreeter.com on the web. If you're interested in attending a public hearing concerning the CTA's 2004 budget, the date has been set for Thursday, October 30th. It'll take place at the Palmer House Hilton, 17 East Monroe at 6 p.m.